Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while, almost a month, I think, but hey, I've been busy. I haven't gotten to make a video. I'm here now. Let's go ahead and get this done. All right, we're going to do Bitcoin and we're going to do EGLD. We're going to take a look at a couple of things that I think are important. Nothing major, honestly, because we've kind of been on this sideways consolidation, but we really want to know, are we looking to go further down or are we looking to go up? So I think that's what everyone's asking. Let's try to take a look and see what the charts and on-chain metrics tell us. All right. Welcome back. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow me on Twitter. Links are in the description. Let's get started. All right. First thing, we're going to switch over to this normal TradingView view. This is kind of what we're looking at for Bitcoin. There's a lot on this chart, so let me dissect it for you properly. Okay, the first thing I want you to know is that if we go over to like the weekly and we set this up as log, obviously, what you start to see is what these lines in the back mean. Okay, these are the regression channels. These are basically trading channels that we trade within. And what you can see is right now, we just dropped below the last trading channel that I actually have mapped out, and we are kind of hitting resistance on it. That tells us there's a possibility we're going to keep moving to the right, and we'll have to create a new trading channel in here. If that happens, I'll have that ready for the next video. Now, let's kind of go and zoom back in so you can take a look at the daily and get a better idea. So you can kind of ignore those regression lines in the back until we're actually looking at views like this, right? So in this view, you can really see that we hit resistance at the top of this trading channel, and now we've dropped kind of sideways and gone to the right-hand side. Now there's a few lines you got to keep in mind, right? So as we zoom out, you can really start to see them. You have your triangle, which is an ascending triangle. This shows you that you have essentially an uptrending level of support, and you're kind of hitting a flat line on your tops. This gives you this ascending channel. Technically, with this new top that we put in here, you could look at that as being a new top and adjust your triangle, but for now, I haven't done that. And the reason is because we really very well broke above this top, and then we came back and got support on it, and then we dropped below it. So it still kind of maintained this triangle line as that top line, right? It showed that we got resistance on that top. If we didn't see that at all and we just started moving upwards, then it would have been a breakout. But right now, we don't really know. One thing that we have seen also is that as we fell below to the bottom of this triangle, we kind of have come back and now we're hitting resistance on it. So what's really key, if we want to maintain this pattern for this orange triangle and timeline, the timeline is a breakout right now, early June. It was actually mid-May. Now it's coming up to early June with the way we're extending. And we don't really know if this triangle is going to extend further or not yet. It's a possibility. I think it's more likely we come back and trade within it, but we're going to have to see. A lot of news has kind of been driving the price down, and we're hitting these key levels. So now if you zoom in a little bit more, you'll really see what Bitcoin's doing. It's hitting, so I have 39.5 marked with this yellow dashed line. And the reason I have that marked is because if we were to drop below that, I said you could expect around 38.5K. Well, we went down to 38.2K once we lost that line. So I think that was a pretty decent call. If you saw that on Twitter, you might have been able to pick up some extra Bitcoin at around 38.5 like I did. So I'm hoping some of you guys were able to do that. But we now can actually remove this. We're still kind of under that same pretense, but we have seen it bounce up. The only thing I don't like about this drop is that we are still setting in this, downward trend here. That's not really a great thing to see because this is kind of like a consolidation channel that is still moving in this downward direction. Technically, it is a little bit bullish the way that it's playing out right now. What you would expect to see with this type of channel, hang on, let me get my brush, dude. Where's my brush? Okay, what you would expect to see is something of this nature, right? Going like this until you break out of it, and then maybe we hit resistance at the triangle. I'm really unsure if that's even gonna happen. It's a possibility, but I haven't mapped it out yet because I'm unsure of that. I have a feeling what's more likely to happen is that we move up and then we start getting support in this triangle zone here. Hang on, let me switch this color. I don't know why this keeps going back to blue. Give me a second, you guys, I apologize. All right, we'll go back there. All right, so now what I would expect to see with this is, okay, sorry, thought I was frozen, I'm not. So now what I would expect to see with this is for it to go back up into this channel, and then you start to see a couple of other things when we're looking at this pattern. You see I have a resistance zone in here. Right, this purple area, this resistance zone is between 43 to 44K. We hit resistance on it once before. It was a minor support area on the way down. It's been resistance, pretty heavy resistance throughout the last 2 months or so. I'm going to expect more resistance at this area, right around 43K. So I do think that there's a good possibility that the price comes back up and trades within this zone until we see anything else going up into the 45K range. I think that's possible. That's what I'd kind of be looking out for. Now, there are many times that you'll also see Bitcoin do things like this, go take a much bigger drop, shake people out, and then kind of come back into this triangle and break out exactly when prepared. Because of that, I actually still have orders all the way down to 37K. I haven't gone lower than that. I think it's possible that a move like this happens, but there's just nothing to suggest it right now. The only thing to suggest that you could move down is that the EU is having discussions on whether or not they should ban proof of work, right? Which would impact Bitcoin. I personally don't think it's going to go in that direction. I don't think any sensible country would make a move like that and opt out of Bitcoin when it's the leading financial network, a decentralized financial network by a large margin, and offers vast opportunity in terms of energy monetization and also security. So I don't see it happening. It could happen. And if it does, then you can expect a pretty big hit coming in for Bitcoin. I don't really know how far I would expect a drop to go if the EU does that, but I don't personally think that the EU would do that. Could be wrong. I mean, the EU is not China, right? China did it. We don't know, is the EU going to do it or not? I don't think they will. I'm not going to bet that they are, right? So I'm going to continue accumulating as if I don't see that happening. I see them making a smarter financial decision, kind of like what the United States is doing, right? Looking at ways to regulate this, because this will likely be the next big industry in finance. Okay. So now you've kind of seen what I'm looking at short term. I am predicting that the price kind of moves up into this $40,000 to $45,000 range and keeps consolidating. That's what the charts are showing me now. I don't see any reason to believe that we're just going to have a massive fall. The only thing that I think, like I said, would impact that would be news. Don't see it yet. So I'm still kind of holding true to this, and it still tells me that we're in for a lot more sideways consolidation. And to be frank with you, it could extend further, because the way that it's going now, if the price of Bitcoin just keeps going sideways like this, right, then technically what will end up happening is this triangle will extend. It'll become a much bigger triangle, and then you may not be predicting a breakout until like August or September, right? So we could see this consolidation kind of go for the rest of the year. It's possible. I think it's unlikely, because remember, we're also getting close to the halving. Like after 2023, the year after that, we have the next halving. So we're not too far away from it. And we have not had a bear market yet. And I'm starting to think maybe this is the bear market, just a consolidation, because nobody wants to sell their Bitcoin. Now we move over after this chart analysis to the CryptoQuant. CryptoQuant is going to give us some on-chain analytics. All right. So what I really like to look at are a few of the top things that people are looking at when they're trading or when they're monitoring Bitcoin. One of the main things is the exchange reserves. I go over this with you all the time. And what you can see has happened here very recently over the last like 24 hours really, is that we saw a spike in the exchange reserves. So we saw that the price of Bitcoin, or not, the price of Bitcoin very well correlated to this. So you see the exchange reserves spike up. A lot of Bitcoin goes on exchanges at the same time, the price drops. And now what you're seeing is a lot of that Bitcoin is leaving exchanges and the price is rising. So I think that you did have some sell-off over the last 24 hours, more than likely due to what's going on in the EU. That's what it seems like. I mean, there's no guarantee that's what it was, but it seems that the drop in price and now the subsequent rise in price very much correlates to what we've seen on-chain for exchange reserves, like for Bitcoin moving on to exchanges and now going off. That's what it looks like to me. Then we look at the Poel multiple. This is basically the miner profitability. And you can see that that's gone up a little bit. It basically means now that miners are slightly more profitable, but in reality, if you compare the Poel multiple to where miners really capitulated the last time, they are still highly in a low profitability zone, which tells me that miner sell pressure is really not something we have to worry about right now. It's a good thing on chain. And then we look at the hash rate. The hash rate is pretty much at all-time highs. It's been like this for almost the entire month. We've seen a couple of dips, but even those dips are at very, very high levels, and we're literally near all-time high right now for the hash rate. So the network has never been stronger. It's never been, more secure. So this is really a good thing, a very, very bullish thing. And then finally, if we go to the difficulty, what you can see is that the difficulty adjustment is also very high. So if you're seeing the hash rate go up, the difficulty go up, what you're seeing is the network get stronger. And at the same time, if you're seeing that the exchange reserves are relatively trending down, which they have been for quite a while. I mean, if we go just to, if we look at this, not at the hourly, but let's look at this at the daily, and then just look at 2022, right? 2022, it's not that big of a time period. So just, from here to here, right, from right here to right here, you can see there's been a significant drop in exchange reserves. This means that throughout 2022, even though the price has been going sideways, the exchange reserves have been dropping significantly. I think that we are very undervalued in comparison to the amount of Bitcoin that's left exchanges. I think the price should really right now be somewhere in the 60,000s. Based on the exchange reserves. And I think you're going to see a violent spike upwards once the market realizes that and you start to see a little bit more demand come in. I think demand rises just a bit and you're going to see price start shooting up because of this. And you're going to see a lot of activity in the options markets and the derivatives market lead to large price swings to the upside. That's what I'm looking for right now, though I'm not going to argue with drops. I don't argue when Bitcoin drops. It doesn't matter to me because I have a very long time horizon. And in that time horizon, if I get opportunities to keep buying and DCAing, I know that I'm going to regret not taking advantage of that 5 years from now. That's how I look at it. Make sure you do your homework to decide how you look at it, but that's how I look at it. Okay, that's pretty much it for these two things. So what we're looking at for Bitcoin right now is a very big possibility that we continue to go sideways. There's no reason for us to think that we're going to have an imminent rise. There's also no reason for us to think that we may have an imminent drop. That tells me that right now we're still going sideways until we have some news to the contrary that takes us another direction. And I am still looking at this very large ascending triangle as being what I'm looking for. Now, what I have written here, dropping below 37K sets a lower low, and that's bad. What I really mean by that is that, looking at these candle bodies here on the left-hand side, these candle bodies kind of set a bottom at 37K. In all technicality, a lower low would be under 34,000 because that's kind of where this wick is right here. But I'm not looking at that wick. I'm looking at these candle bodies. That's where the majority of trading is. If we enable the VPVR, you can also see that's kind of the area where the majority of volume is, obviously, because that's where the candle bodies are. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it being a bad sign if we drop below the low set by these candle bodies at around 37K. At that point, I'm going to be looking for us to go closer to our key support of 30,000, meaning that if I see us drop below 37, I'm going to start setting some lower orders to take advantage of it, because I think what could happen is you could see that trigger a lot of fear in the market, and then you start to see a retail sell-off. If that happens, you could just see mass liquidations get triggered, and then suddenly the price drops down very quickly and gets bought up very quickly. And I think if that happens, you could see a wick going down to around 31, 31.5. So I would personally have lower orders set if I see the price start dropping below 37K. It is going to kind of be a signal for me to start putting in those lower orders. Otherwise, for right now, my orders kind of sit around that 37K mark, just in case it happens. And I'm still buying spot here and there as I see fit. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now let's move over to EGLD. All right. So if we look at EGLD, you're seeing something very similar for EGLD. You're seeing a long-term ascending triangle forming, right? You have two tops, and obviously for this, I am ignoring this God candle, which was just a massive buy in a 1 minute candle. It looked like someone traded a whole bunch of Bitcoin for EGLD in that 1 minute, and we saw a huge spike. So I'm not going to include that because to me, that's a bit of an outlier. And I'm just going to look at what our tops appeared to be. And it seems very similar that our tops are in this golden pocket range and, similar to Bitcoin in that sense. And it's also looking very similar as to what's happening now. We've kind of fallen below this triangle. We need to set a brand new regression channel needs to be created. And we need to figure out, are we going to break back into this triangle, meaning that we're going to keep a target of somewhere around May to early June for a breakout. I actually had it marked as May 10th, but now I would actually move this. So it's actually not locked. I would actually hold on. Okay, I would move this guy closer to here, closer to like mid to late June, based on what the triangle is looking like now. Remember, these are just predictive pattern analysis. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but that's what the pattern indicates. Now, the other thing I'm looking for is, are we going to break back into the triangle, or are we going to reject and we're going to drop further down? If we reject and drop further down, what I do not want to see is a drop below the 130 mark. That was our previous support. I want us to hold that support. And if we do, that means that we're just extending out this triangle. If we don't hold it, then it could mean that we're continuing a bearish consolidation and might be looking for lower prices. Now, I know that looks scary to a lot of people, and believe me, it is, right? Any altcoin is going to look scary, and the reason is because altcoins are a lot more volatile. So you got to be ready for these things. The thing that I'm looking at on here that actually makes this look quite bullish for me is the fact that in the long term, we're seeing steadily declining volume since the top. And as you're aware, these things move in cycles. So like you see this cycle here where the volume drop. Hang on, let's max this out. So you see, okay, so you can see kind of how this works. If you look at a longer term picture, volume starts to drop. It reaches a point where it then spikes. Volume starts to drop. It then spikes. Well, since this last spike, we've really seen volume just continue to drop. You know, you got to look at the trend here. The trend I'm seeing is like this, right? And it looks to me like towards the end of June, we're going to start reaching a point where the volume's really dropping, and I'm going to expect another spike, right? That volume spike could correlate very well with what we see in that ascending triangle. I mean, that's kind of how charts tend to move. They're cyclical in nature. And in this sense, we're going to be looking for another cycle to begin. We just don't know exactly when that's going to happen. And keep in mind, you got to be ready for the downside, right? The way I look at altcoins, especially EGLD, is that I like it for a few reasons. I like it for the technology. I think it's better than the competition. And I see value in DeFi. I see value in the project. There's always risks, right? There's more risks to DeFi projects like Elrond and Ethereum and all of these things because they do not have the same level of security. You see DeFi protocols getting hacked and these things happening. People are less likely to enter a new DeFi product as they see these things happening so often. So keep those things in mind. You know, you can't guarantee exactly how things are going to play out, but you have to understand the risks and whether you're willing to take them. So I think a lot of you guys have now gotten the answers you're looking for EGLD as far as what I'm expecting, right? I'm expecting you break back into this triangle. We're still looking at a breakout coming in this area here, right? Sometime in the early to mid-June area right now. If we fall below, then we're looking at a possibility of dropping below 125 if we lose 130, right? But we don't know anything until we know how we interact with this triangle. I want to know, is the triangle extending? Is the triangle breaking? Or are we going to break back into it and just hold it? Too early to tell. Keep an eye on these things. As far as I can tell right now, we're very much following Bitcoin. So what happens with Bitcoin is very important. There's a lot of good things happening within the ecosystem for Elrond. So metabonding's coming in. I think Zoid's doing really good. There's a lot of projects that are doing very well. I haven't been as active as I should have been to know everything. I'm going to start changing that. Things have been busy for me. I haven't gotten to do it. So I will do it. And you'll get more information as I do. And we'll start making some more videos about all the things going on in Elrond as we start moving. And we might even have some more interviews coming. I want to do another interview with Wesley. I think the first one was a really good start on background for us, but I want to do one with him where I focus on Elrond. And there's a few other key people within the Elrond community that I might reach out to in the near future to have interviews. And we kind of start building that podcast a little bit because I like that format. It's fun talking to people for a few hours and really getting ideas across. And I think it's fun for everyone else too, because even I listen to it and I got a few things from Wesley that I didn't pick up during the actual interview. So listening to it kind of allowed me to expand my thinking a little bit. Anyways, we'll continue doing that. For right now, I would just say be careful, manage your risk. This is a good time to manage your risk. I think that you have opportunities to make moves here, whether it's for how you want to account for taxes next year. You know, you just kind of, you might want to make some trades now that can be beneficial to you when you're recording taxes later. You know, but remember all the rules when you do things like that. So do your research, make sure you know what you're doing, and we'll keep an eye on things. We'll come back very soon. I hope that was informative. I hope you enjoyed it. That's 18 minutes of me talking straight, and I apologize it's been so long since we've gotten to do it. We got a lot more to go over, to be honest with you, and a lot of this is going to be based on what I have time to do. So I'm going to try my best. All right. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. If you enjoy these videos, you'll see TA coming from me on Twitter, and I'm going to try to start becoming a little more active. I haven't had time lately, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try my best. That's all I can do. And I think think that's about it, you guys. I think that's about it. Yeah, my last video, I think, is a rally about to start. I think that was the title. I feel like I could use the exact same title this time. The question is a rally about to start? We've been stuck in a sideways consolidation for so long, and we really should be getting to a point soon where we see which way are things going to go. Are we in for some pain in the short term, or are we in for a reversal and really starting the next leg of this bull market? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for joining me. Peace.